Hello everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Marhaba, I just came back from Turkey, so that's all I learned actually. And teşekkürler, which I kind of got it wrong anyways. Thank you for coming on a Monday morning, which is not easy. I see some familiar faces and some not even from the art sector, but yeah, kind of the art. Hi TP. Shout out to TP who does both. Today is about crafting community. It means a lot to have a room filled with not just our art practitioners, but people from outside, people who want to learn more about what it means to preserve heritage. And so I want to sort of pull a lens and talk about it in context a little bit. So across the world, we are seeing a renewed interest in handmade work, slow processes, and authentic cultural expressions. People are seeking meaning, connection, and the real stories that are behind the things they use and experience. Internationally, heritage has become a powerful subject matter in fashion, design, food, lifestyle, even digital content. It's trending, it's celebrated, and in many ways, this is wonderful. But it also comes with risk. Because when heritage becomes popular, it becomes easy for people to borrow it without understanding it, to use motifs, symbols, techniques, or cultural stories without knowing their origins, their meanings, or their communities. The world today values heritage, but it also misunderstands it. And this is something we need to navigate carefully. Heritage is now recognized globally as a development priority. Even the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals highlights this in the SDG 11.4, strengthen efforts to protect and safeguard cultural and natural heritage. Why is this important? Because heritage isn't just an aesthetic, it is an identity, it is continuity, it is dignity. And it is part of what makes a society resilient in a rapidly changing world. So when we talk about preserving heritage, we are not just talking about the past, we are talking about sustainable development, nation building, and the future we want the next generation to inherit. Which brings me to the examples we often look to. Across the region, we see collaborations that show us that what is possible when heritage is approached with respect. Dior's work with bamboo weavers in Thailand, where the traditional craft became a haute couture and interior design, wasn't just beautiful in collaboration, but it was a recognition of heritage as something worthy of global attention. Close to home, we have Changi partnerships with our Songket weavers, which reminds us of Malaysian heritage too. Can find a new life when we bring it to contemporary spaces and care. These collaborations show us the potential, but they also show us responsibility. Because if we don't tell our stories, someone else will. And they might not get it right. This is why today's conversation is so important. Crafting continuity is about asking, how do we keep Malaysian heritage alive, relevant, and respected, especially as it becomes more visible globally? How do we collaborate without diluting meaning? How do we tell stories that honor, not exploit? And importantly, who holds the responsibility? Yes, artisans, yes, designers, yes, brands, but also ordinary people like you and me. Everyone in this room, in fact. Whether you choose to buy handmade, support local makers, share a cultural story with your children, or simply appreciate the craft traditions around you, you are contributing to continuity. Heritage survives because people care, and that includes every single one of you today. As we move into Visit 2020 Malaysia 2026, we have a unique window. Millions of eyes will be on us, and the question becomes, what parts of Malaysia do we want the world to see? What stories do we want them to hear? What cultural expressions do we want them to fall in love with? And just as importantly, how do we ensure that those stories are told authentically? Today, we're very lucky to have three voices of each represent a different way of keeping heritage alive through communication, storytelling, and artistic evolution. First, we have Madam Adlena Borhan, CEO and co-founder of ABM Artho, Her consultancy, founded in Paris in 2008, specializes in lifestyle, travel, hospitality, and culture, and her work spans Europe and Asia. Adelina brings a global lens to how heritage can be positioned, communicated, and made relevant. Her experience bridging legacy with modern audiences through strategic communications makes a powerful voice in conversations about cultural continuity. Sorry, I'm a bit jet-lagged. Next, we have Shafika Othman, Regional Creative Director of Zeus Cafe. Coffee, is that correct? Yes. One of Malaysia's most recognizable homegrown brands. Thank you for the coffee today. Although I don't drink coffee, but I'm just breathing that in. Shafika leads creative storytelling across Malaysia and emerging markets, often weaving local identity and everyday Malaysian culture into brand experiences. She understands what it means to speak. Where's my other speech? She understands what it means to speak brand, and I can't wait to see whatever that you have to say. Oh my God, Nikki. There you go. It's done. Haris Rashid, thank God I know you. So Haris is a multi-designer, and he is somebody who challenges status quo. He's not afraid of innovation, and he likes to mix it together. So he's coming from a younger generation, and he is going to tell us what it means to collaborate with brands, and his vast experience in different brands asking him to do different things. So, without further ado, we are going to move straight on to the panel, because guess what? I'm moderating the session as well. So can I invite our panelists to the bar?
This is
Okay, let's just test it. Okay. It really, welcome guys. Okay, all right. Oh wow, you did. You prepared something, Adelina. That's a lot of script, okay. So we have to get into it. So thank you for coming. And this is an interesting conversation to be had. And for the next 30 minutes, we'll be exploring how heritage is being communicated, interpreted, and reimagined today. Because storytelling is really about the bridge, being the bridge. It determines how people connect, how they understand, and how they value culture. So, the speakers do not have any slides. So we're going to have to listen carefully to what they have to say. And the first conversation that we want to do is how heritage can be shared meaningfully with modern audiences. Yeah? So the first one is global versus local approaches. Adelina, would you like to talk? Or I'm going to dive straight into the questions. I think I'm going to ask you to talk for a little bit, I think, because you've got something prepared. Adelina Borhan, please.
It was just my point.
Sure, yeah, your points. Here, do you need a microphone?
Yes.
There's one for you. Testing. Adelina.
Okay, morning everyone. Thanks for inviting Nini to Yayasan Hasanah. Talking about heritage in the context of global and local in our country. I had the experience of being in France for a real good number of years, more than 2 decades staying there, and 10 years of practically working, collaborating on collaborations, promoting cultural heritage, and fusing it, of course, with lifestyle, travel, and tourism. Working with Tourism Malaysia before, and having coordinated with the Ministry of Culture, Arts and Tourism, you see the perspective of Malaysian tourism, how we're going to present the country in its the contents of heritage to reach the French public. And for me, it's important being a Malaysian that I need to make sure that our story get the story right in the first place. And one of the things that we did to communicate to the French is how our heritage is different. Okay, because the French savoir-faire is different from Malaysia. They are luxury group like LVMH or Kering or Hermes. They all carry a different level of craftsmanship and so forth. But the whole idea is it's sacred to the French. So authenticity is so important. Communication for culture is very important. It's very, very specialized. And the way people are being educated about culture and heritage is very, very strong in France. And I think that's where in Malaysia that I share and communicate regularly when I was there with the participants coming to France, so that they are aware of the expectation of France, for instance. Because you know, Paris is one of the world's most prestigious and art-loving cities. So the expectation is very high. So when you come in, we have got a good high level of asset of cultural heritage, and I think we should do it right and making sure that that moment has got to be delivered.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you're setting the stage. Paris is tough.
Yeah.
And to sell culture is tough.
Yeah.
Right. How did you sell Malaysia? Because you managed to get Tourism Malaysia. I remember there was one project, and I please remember, I don't know what year it was, but the year I visited you, that you were going, we're having you're having like some dances by the Louvre or something. I'm not quite sure. Somewhere in the main area, Champs-Élysées, I'm not sure.
Right.
You had some round festival. How did you convince the French to have Malaysian culture there? You know how they are very safeguarding their own culture.
It's a lot of homework, a lot of research work. The people whom we're working with in Malaysia, there's a lot of engagement. So we don't take for granted, because we must make sure, because at the end, you know that we've got magazines, like cultural magazines coming in from Figaro, Le Monde and a few others coming. So the public who basically, they love art, right? And there's a couple of great exhibitions that we did. One of them was when Terengganu, that's a nice one, the late Professor Sulaiman, and your mom actually they were in Paris and they wanted to do something in Europe. So we identified Paris, Madrid, and in Milan, and that was purely for Songket, promoting Songket. And you know, Songket have got to be treated at its highest level. So that's the base. And it has to be presented at the right place, no less. So we put them at Four Seasons. So at least for a start, it is getting there at the right location. And you get curators combining their efforts together with the local designers from Malaysia. And so when the French curators, designers of the fashion for merchandising, visual display, put together with the local, and you wouldn't believe what came out of the Songket.
Okay, what year was this?
Gee, that was about 2012, 2013.
2013.
About.
And what kind of products came out that was so interesting to you?
The Songket was just so, it became so diorific.
Diorific?
The designer just created, like, so effortless, but suddenly the mannequin dressed so beautifully, and you cannot believe this is your Songket. And I think that was outstanding. It's about creativity. It's how the curators or designers imagine how and suddenly you're ready to have this outfit on the runway, I think. It looks like, you know. So that was when I thought that was so great. So we went this for Paris, Milan, and in Madrid. And the best part, right after the event, I was so excited to bring this to the next level. And I said, all I need is to get someone from LV to just comment about it, you know. And I had that opportunity. It was so difficult to get an appointment for your information. And finally I did. All I want was comments about our country's Songket, how it could be. And really it was a very positive comment that it is beautiful and it works stunning as mural and various. So that gave me a comforting note that we're on the right direction where the quality is concerned. So that was my first one. And the second one.
Oh, there's a second.
And the second one was 5 years ago when they said that you're crazy to put Kelantan in Paris. But I said it's not about the state, it's about the contents of the state, the art, the culture. And we managed to bring Kelantan to Paris, and the event space was well chosen. We purposely did that. That's how we wanted to communicate. It was opposite Christian Louboutin's flagship store.
Right. Wow.
So that gives already so meaning what we're trying to say is you've got to put it where it should be.
I love that.
And where the clientele of people walking, the target for people to know and be educated about your artisan work or your jewelry, or you know. So it was fantastic. We did that, and with the cooperation, that's where responsible collaboration came in, and it was fantastic. We did. We collaborated with the palace, with the state, and with the artisans themselves, the painters, and also the young talents from UITM who designed jewelry. We brought them over, but of course we checked what would be relevant to bring in, and that was just so fantastic, and we get good response from the people.
That was a lot of work, though, and congratulations for and thank you for taking us to Paris. I visit Christian Louboutin. But that you started in 2012, and to say that to get the Parisians or the French to even like our stories meant that we needed to integrate with the locals as well, right? And to get them to have collaborations and get them to understand our work. And to also have faith that Malaysian work and the culture that we have is so rich and beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that you need to really sell us in that sense. I'm going to go and again come back to you, but thank you for just sharing those stories with us, Lena. I want to go to Shafika as well. Shafika, now there is like an opposite, because Adelina is from a PR background, so she's really selling our stories to the world. And you coming from Zeus, tell me first a little bit about what you do at Zeus, and also how you're getting, because we're noticing that Zeus has taken an interest in heritage, and how are you positioning that in your brand and your narrative?
So hi, thank you for having me here. I think the elevator pitch for what I do at Zeus as the regional creative director is that I'm there to humanize the brand, to give it its personality, its identity, its values, to turn the brand into a human, basically. So as the conversation that we had earlier before we came out, where we were talking about how heritage is some sort of it's something that has started to trend. I think very, very obviously, especially in the last few years, if you were to look at geopolitics and things like that, a lot of people have put in a lot more emphasis in trying to figure out who they are, where they come from, their own identities. So it has sparked renewed birth in wanting to carry forward their own heritage. So where Zeus comes in is that when we first started, yes, initially we wanted to just be a homegrown coffee brand. But I think after a while, when we wanted to fully push that we are Buatan Malaysia, um, that mentality and that motto to us, we started going into, okay, if that's the case, if we are Buatan Malaysia, then what makes us Buatan Malaysia? So we started doing what was close to us, considering that we were a small team in the beginning. So what was close to us was just how Malaysians interact every day, the humor, the kind of language that we use with one another. But as we continue expanding, that's when we started taking more importance in motifs, elements, as shown in our latest koleksi corak, which are tumblers with like all these Malaysian elements. So as a brand, we feel, especially since we find it really, really important to carry ourselves as Buatan Malaysia. So it is very important for us also to be able to portray ourselves not just as one thing, because Malaysians are diverse. We are many. So it is finding the right time and place to be able to bring all these differences together, this diversity, and unite it, and also being able to showcase to the rest of the world, like, okay, yes, we are a Malaysian brand, and look at how colorful our heritage is. Like all these different ones, whether it's songket, plekat, puakumbu, lagu sayong, or like all these things, these are all considered Malaysian, despite maybe there are differences in the meanings and things like that. So as a brand, we also find it really, really important to be able to speak to the people who are still practicing it today. Because we are a commercial brand, we still find it very important. Like for us, relevance is better than nostalgia. Because nostalgia gives you a very feel-good feeling. When you think back to the past, where, oh, this thing used to exist, dulu-dulu kita macam ni, macam tu.
Before it.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're looking at heritage through the lens of nostalgia, that's kind of like you're putting it in the past. Yeah, you're archiving it. It's something, oh, this used to exist. But what we're doing is, because we know that these things are still relevant today, perhaps being portrayed in a more innovative or more in a different manner, based on the generation that's uplifting it. So instead of seeing it as nostalgia, we still look at it as this is something that's relevant. This is something that is still being practiced today. Not necessarily maybe highlighted in mainstream media or whatsoever, but as a brand that is growing, and we are aware that there are also a lot of eyes on us, that it kind of gives us also that corporate responsibility. If we say we are Buatan Malaysia brand, what does that mean? So that's why we are also trying to find ways in being able to uplift heritage in more responsible and respectful manners slowly.
I'm curious, thank you for that. I love that you want to make it relevant for our today's audience. But how was your journey to understand what to bring out? Like you mentioned motifs.
Yeah.
What was your experience working with people? How was it easy to find these kinds of information? And how did you select the stories that you were going to portray in your campaign?
To be completely honest, it wasn't easy, because as I mentioned, we started off with a really small team before we started expanding. So a lot of it had to do with like, okay, we know someone who knows someone, let's try interview them, and then we would get information. But still, at the end of the day, it was always so much better to find the right sources of people who are actually practicing it. So a lot of it is also stories yang macam turun-menurun, where they would let us know. But now as the team expands, that's when we go more in-depth into the research. We have more resources and more networking with other like artisans and stuff like that. So I would say we've had our mishaps, our misses, because for us, as we continue to humanize the brand, so as a person, myself, individually, I am on that journey of trying to understand my heritage, my culture, learn more about it. So if you were to apply it to Zeus, which is a new brand, so technically we're like 5 years old. We're still really, really young. So we've had our misses, we're still learning. And I think what's also most important is that as you become a brand that wants to carry heritage forward, to let go of your sense of ego, where a lot of brands are still thinking from a very, very commercial perspective, where they're like, can this sell? Can this sell? But you need to be able to view it like it has to be values based, especially when you're carrying heritage. So for us, we would take a step back. The people who should be telling the story, we would usually allow them to narrate it or let us know how it's supposed to be portrayed. And then, like, just put your ego down and listen, because heritage is not supposed to be raw material. It's not something that you just take and then you commodify and then you sell it in hopes that it will bring you a profit. Because to other cultures, to communities, heritage is sacred. It's community, it's care, patience, family. It's all these very, very deep things in just in one word. So don't view like, oh, cantik ah pattern ni, let's use it on our tumblers, for example.
Yeah.
But how do you know if you're doing it in a respectful
Yeah,
manner?
how do
Yeah.
you ensure that?
Yeah, so that's why you need to be able to, you need to speak to people. So one of the things that I always tell my team is that the important part of whether you're in marketing or whether you're doing creative work and things like that is to always talk to people, to always observe, to not just, if you're just sitting on your laptop and for example you Google search, like research about this particular heritage, this culture, this pattern, whatever it is that you're learning online is not the same as what the person who is practicing might tell you. So it's always better to go on ground, to kind of like, to touch grass. We say that all the time in the office. Go out, touch grass, talk to people, find out how heritage is actually being carried forward by people who are actually practicing it today, so that we don't have another PR crisis. For example, like, oh, why are you doing this certain way? We've had, I'm not going to say that we've never had it, but also when someone points out what you're doing wrong, do not take offense, because everyone is still learning.
Thank you very much for that. Everyone is still learning indeed. I have a few things to ask actually. Because I have seen a lot of coffees and a lot of other brands taking up heritage, and I wonder what your audiences, what is your customers actually, what is your feedback when you put like Songket motif and all that? Does it even make an impression to your customers, or are they just thinking, oh yeah, that's nice, okay, and then I'm just gonna, and then walk along? Have you had any lingering effects with heritage in your previous campaigns?
I would say that people actually really love seeing their heritage being represented. So it makes them feel seen, especially in today's world where everything is so fast, so modern. You know, if you were to look at architecture, even architecture like brutalist kind of designs are a thing, you know, where everything's like gray, straight lines, beige, and things like that. So a lot of people are trying to steer into that very modern, minimalist kind of designs and visuals. And usually when you see anything that is extremely colorful with a lot of elements and a lot of motifs, you can already gauge that, oh, this is something that's cultural, it's heritage, so it's different. So like for example, we have a series of tumblers which is just solid colors, like banyak, and it's like the colors of the rainbow, it's just all solid colors. And then we have our koleksi corak, which is like every single one has a different pattern, they have a lot of colors and stuff like that. So people actually really like seeing that. And I do, from kind of just looking at our social media comments, a lot of people tend to want to purchase the motif and pattern that applies most to themselves. Like, oh, I feel represented here, so I feel like I want to get it. So to be able to speak and connect to the audience in that manner, it means a lot to us, and it also allows us to kind of learn more about, okay, so what do our customers look for when it comes to carrying their heritage every single day and things like that. Like, if I am going to be carrying a tumbler around wherever I go, I would want it. This is something that also a lot of Gen Zs also, I realize they tend to do this, where everything that they wear on their body has to represent a part of themselves, their identity. So if, let's say, the tumbler can speak to the identity that they identify with, then it's something that they're more likely to also get.
Thank you for that. And I wish that we had some visuals for you, for people to see these beautiful tumblers that they've created.
I have one side.
But I wonder if we have any, like my team, calmly look online and check out if you can find something on Zeus's campaign
It's
while I talk to Haris. Koleksi Corak. If you can, look online and maybe we can flash that on screen while they calmly do this. Calmly. I would love to segue, and I like that. I like that you said that you use motifs to represent something, and you have to have story to signify something in your brand. That's what I'm taking away from what you're saying right now. Haris. Haris, you are from, oh, there you go. That's good job. Well done, you guys. Look at, so this is the motifs, which is the one that's, I love the Pelekat series. This is really cute.
This.
When did they come out? When did you launch this campaign?
So these three are recent. Oh, sorry. So these three are recent. I think this was within the last month. But the first batch was, okay, scroll bawah sikit.
Scroll bawah.
So it comes with like, it's,
oh, it comes with like a little holder
We
and
also
stuff.
have reusable straws in the same motifs as well. And then we have another, oh, maybe it's not showing here.
So I like you said Dwi Sejoli Bundle. Dwi means duo, right?
Yeah.
Maharani Pika. So do you have stories to go with them?
Not any that comes to my mind
Oh,
at
so
the moment.
At the moment, so you don't have what it means yet. So
not
people
yet,
are
yeah.
attracted with what it
Right
looks
now
like.
with what it looks like, but also when we do share it online, we do mention like where it comes from, what it's about. So the one that I
So that's
personally have,
storytelling, yeah. So
Yes.
you do share that.
so the one that I personally have is not up here. It's the Pua Kumbu one. It's in orange, but I have it in the room. So that one personally to me, because I worked with I think it was Sabah and Sarawak Tourism Board when I was in an agency once. So I had to go on ground a lot to speak to, to tell like all these Borneans about. I learned a lot about the beads, about their textile, about all these things that they were doing. So for that particular one, when I learned that it was usually where the motifs were usually used in like rituals like ceremonies, marriages, births. It had a spiritual meaning which showed readiness, where you are ready to step into the next part of your life. So that kind of meaning to me, especially since it also has sentimental value to me based on who I've worked with before in the past, that was the one that I personally got. Because I'm like, okay, I can, like now when I look at this, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to take on the day. Let's go.
I love it. I love that you are. This is the Bunga Lado one. Is this the one that you?
Mine
The Puak. Sorry,
it's not up here.
It's not in here. Oh, because it's special for you.
Oh no, that was the first batch, the first series.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing this, and I love these ideas a lot. I'm coming from a heritage background, and I know a lot of people here are also from heritage. Sometimes the makers themselves have issues with you putting motifs on different parts. I think the last one, another brand did teleport, and teleport is traditionally known to be on fabric, and I feel that they kind of got into a little bit of a tightrope there when they didn't know enough, that they put the motive across. And of course, I do hope that there's a certain amount of research coming in. It's very risky, right, when you do it, because like you said, we don't have enough information about it online.
Also, like, just to, okay, I'm kind of like airing out the laundry a little bit here. But also, it's like there was the one time when we were doing a Merdeka campaign, and we did a small visual of each state. And then for the state of the state that has the hornbill is the Sarawak, yes.
Yeah.
So for Sarawak, we have a lot of layers to ensure that that QA says yes, legal says yes, and things like that. But sometimes, especially when you're a small team and you're rushing for printing and stuff like that, things sometimes kind of like you miss them. So what happened was my graphic designer put a toucan instead of a hornbill.
Oh!
And let me tell you, the backlash that we got was crazy. But also, like, I couldn't blame him because it went through a lot of eyes. So my graphic designer doesn't know his birds. Yeah, so I'm like, it's okay, I understand. But then I don't have an excuse as to why no one else noticed it, because he doesn't know his birds, but I know my birds. So like, why did I not see that it was a toucan and not a hornbill? So that was also why when we received that backlash, we recalled everything, all the stickers, we took down whatever decal that we had just so that we could reprint it new. But also because I felt like, you know what? Kita dah salah. We are wrong. Let's admit it and let's try our absolute best to make it better. So I think that was also one of the mishaps that happened that really made us, okay, now we really have to be careful. So now that we have a larger team, we don't have any reason anymore to say like, oh, we don't know about this, we don't know about that, because now the team has expanded so much. So now we don't have a reason to say we don't know anything.
And it's also very interesting to see how aware people are actually, and that they're quite in tune with their own heritage and their own know your birds, like you know, toucan versus
Now we know to know your birds.
Yeah, that's a big deal, you know.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so transparent about that. I really appreciate it. And on to Haris, and also again to ask my team to kindly provide some visuals for Haris as well. Maybe look at his Instagram and flash it up, because Haris is a very interesting species. He is a hornbill. He is an artist. He's got a background. Haris, maybe you can explain yourself better than I can.
Okay, Anini, marhaba.
Marhaba.
I'm also a bit jet lagged, so excuse me. Hi, I'm Haris Rashid. I am a multidisciplinary artist, mixed media artist. I started off my journey in fine arts back in 2015. So I've been in the art scene, to say, about 30 years now. And I've been recently doing batik. So it's just an activity I did with my mom, because my mom used to do batik, and I kind of got into it quite quickly and quite deeply, fastly, and it also got me that fellowship to Istanbul, actually, which is surprising. But for me, in terms of my art style and motifs, I'm always inspired by local things that are not very obvious or very literal. So instead of bunga raya, I like rafflesia flowers. So I like to represent Malaysia in unexpected ways, I feel, yeah. So recently I have been collaborating with a lot of brands. I think it started off with Body Shop, I think, yeah, which we both have collaborated with Body Shop also. And interestingly, when brand approach me, they always ask me, can you do something cultural? And so for me, I feel kind of a mixed feeling. I also do not want to be branded as this cultural person per se. I do draw cultural things, but I don't want to be, I don't know, yeah, it's a kind of mixed feeling for me. yeah, so recently they've been asking me to do more cultural things, and at first I was a bit hesitant, so I tried to find things that are more ambiguous in terms of culture, but it still speaks to our culture, if you understand. And then I started to accept my fate, basically, as being this cultural kind of person. So I've been doing a lot of research ever since I've been doing a lot of these brands, because I also do not want to misrepresent. A funny thing, I feel like some brands kind of put the responsibility of fact checking to me, which I feel is unfair because I am just an artisan. There are a lot of things that I also want to unpack later on. It's a good and bad thing, I feel. It goes both ways. I feel like some brands are doing it just for the sake of trend, and some brands, they do understand the culture, and I feel like brands need to understand that culture takes time. So I know it's a very commercial thing, and they have deadlines. They have, this brand has to be launched in 3 months' time. So let's say they wanted me to do a batik, like I can't do that in a month's time. Like they need to understand that it takes time. It's slow art. Yeah.
Without naming names,
Yeah.
can you give me some interesting examples of like some brand requests for artisan for you to do that you had to navigate against, maybe?
Okay. Yes, I had this one brand, which was an overseas kind of brand, which they asked me to propose a cultural artwork for them in their international store. And I proposed a few, and then the feedback was they give notes that I feel kind of represent Malaysia, and which they thought was negative. So they say it was too detailed, it was too colorful, it was too many things at once. That's what I say. This is an international brand. So this is Western lah. So I'm in my mind, that's Malaysia, right? So I'm like, you're kind of explaining Malaysia. So that's when I thought like, okay, you're just doing this for the sake of trying to connect with Malaysians without properly understanding what Malaysia is. So at the end, I almost gave up on that project actually, because we were like butting heads. And also these are the things that describe my artwork: detailed, colorful, too many things. Yeah. And I feel like that's Malaysia. Like we make sense of a lot of things that don't make sense together. We make it look harmonious.
This project was a mural project?
Yes.
With a French company?
Yes.
I see.
I'm sorry.
No, I understand that. I understand it also.
Yeah. But at the same time,
Yeah.
okay. So at the end, I gave up and I told them I will propose whatever I'm gonna draw. If you accept, you accept. If you don't, let's just move on. And at the end, they accepted it, and it was something out of my heart. And while I was designing it, I was thinking, okay, make Malaysia Parisian.
They can feel you.
That's what I did.
Make Malaysian
Parisian. Palatable to Parisians.
And what did that mean to you?
Yeah, so it was like a kind of like, it was a lot of thinking, a lot of like
Clearly it's
unlearning and relearning kind of thing.
Yeah.
So of course, like you feel this sense of, like why do these white people wanna change my, my culture kind of deal.
Right.
But at the end, I understand the beauty of it, and then when I saw it in the store, it all made sense.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so maybe there is a two-way street that we need to learn also,
but
kind of thing.
Curious minds want to know what project it is.
This is diptych.
Diptych. Okay,
See,
thank you
it's
for
so
sharing.
beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
wonder if we
beautiful.
can pull it up. Yeah, can we share that right now? Like diptych, because I feel like I knew this story because
Yeah, I told you.
I remember you told me and you were like, how? Because I've done a project with them.
Yeah, you also did. Yeah.
And they were very finicky. But I think you're part of that's Chaji.
This is Chaji. That diptych.
There.
That's very French.
Yeah.
Is that your print?
No, so that the mural on the little screen.
Oh yeah, the little screen. Oh, so we can see this.
Yeah.
So you
So
have to print
I based it on tekad and bunga kenanga. So I deconstructed it into a very sketchy, very drawing. Because they're very artisanal.
yeah. That's you, the model.
Sorry.
Ah.
So they also asked me to live paint their window store
So
during the opening.
tekad, for those who don't know, is an embroidery. So if you don't know tekad, it's an embroidery. So you can see that Haris has done some sketches to emulate the embroidery feel, to make it, like you say, Parisian. Haris,
Parisian.
I think it looks great.
I mean, yeah, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
The process, you know.
Yeah, the process of getting another country to understand
Yeah,
your
yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
It took some time, and I think that whole culture of talking to them as
Yeah,
well
yeah,
is
yeah.
part of our culture that they're.
Yeah, yeah.
And at some point they accepted, which
They
is
did,
amazing
yeah,
because they could have said no straight
Yeah,
away,
yeah,
right?
that's true.
So congratulations on that one. Any interesting other projects that you went? That is crazy. I can't do it.
Oh yeah, which didn't happen. There are like proposals. They asked me to do like 80 meters of hand-drawn batik within 2 months, kind of thing. You know, yeah. So I'm like, oh, not possible. And also, do you have the money? Do you know how much it costs? It's hand-drawn. You know, like sometimes I feel like, and they're Malaysians. Do you even know how batik are made?
Yes.
You know?
I mean, it touches on this, and you have been getting a lot of projects,
A lot,
cultural
yeah.
projects recently. And I'm opening this to the rest of you as well. Heritage is trending, and people are becoming a lot more like, let's have something motif-y on their graphics and all that. Is this something that you foresee going to continue on for the next year or so, or is this purely just a trend? Oh, you do want to take it? Haris is just like, I'm not taking that question. Okay, it was for you as well, but.
I think from a design perspective, visuals, like design trends tend to change. What we see right now might not happen in 2026. I don't think it's something that will it won't be a trend, so much a trend as much as it is going to be a relationship. Because I think what it is that as heritage becomes a trend right now, and a lot of people are trying to put it into their work, and brands are also trying to carry it forward. Sooner or later, from a design perspective, perhaps it might like fizzle down slightly, but I don't think that the relationship will end, because what it does is that as we're doing it right now, while it is still in trend, it's going to there's an increase in curiosity for people to understand their own cultures and other cultures as well. So personally, perhaps from a design perspective, it might change, but I don't think it is something that people will stop seeking. So whether on an individual level, from a knowledge level, a spiritual level, or even from a design level, I think there will be a lot of people who will still be reaching for these patterns and motifs in order to incorporate into their work, especially if it has turned into their identity markers. So if it's something that is extremely important to them, something that they carry in their everyday life, I don't think it is something that will change. But just from a global design perspective, it might, but I do see it sticking for the next few years or so, because there's the amount of like emphasis that a lot of people I know right now, whether I'm observing online or I'm observing just around me, is that a lot of people are going back to their heritage, where they kind of start realizing like, wow, oh my god, my mind has been colonized my whole life. Like that, like things that have happened in the past few years kind of made them realize that everything they understand about the world, they're kind of like seeing it through a colonizer's perspective. So now everyone's kind of like taking a step back and being like, okay, what does it mean to decolonize? And usually when people use heritage motifs and elements within their design, something that's visual for people to see, it sparks curiosity. And for me, I view that as the stepping stone to exploration. So for as long as people are still using it, more people are going to start seeing it, more people are going to be curious, and then when they're curious, they learn, and then when they learn, they appreciate. And the younger generations, they are the ones that they become agents of carrying forward this heritage as well. And most, if not all, of the younger generation, they do have an interest in heritage actually. It's just that perhaps it's not accessible to them. Perhaps a heritage is kind of like siloed into more like museums, cultural places, so they don't really see it integrated into everyday life sana. But as the trend is where it is right now, and as it continues to kind of grow, I think it will reach an equilibrium, like a safe momentum where people will still be doing it, not necessarily like at a booming pace, but the kind of effects that it will leave, the curiosity, the seeking of knowledge and things like that, I think those are things that will continue, inshallah, selama-lamanya.
Thank you for that. I needed to think about that. We're talking about crafting continuity, and what you just said is really important. As people, the more people see it, the more people will want to continue listening to it. And I think that's our responsibility, to continue our stories in whatever platform that we have, to ensure that our heritage will not be gone forever. Haris, your recent trip to Turkey, and I know a little bit of the background here. You saw a different country, a country that's embedded in its culture. Everywhere you go, there was culture. What is your thought about that? And the people around in Turkey? What were your observations there with culture?
So in those days we talked about it a lot. We had a few reflections there. There are the thing that I'm most inspired by Turkey as a whole is how from top to bottom they continue to preserve their culture, and also they have the advantage of being thousands of years of civilizations, and we are just so young, like 60 years. So they've started creating organizations to preserve culture since 1940s, right? 1940s, 30s, like that. So I felt like how important it was for the people with privilege and people who has more wealth to create an organization to maintain that culture was so inspiring. And I felt like that was something new. And how they incorporated it into modern things to be sold to contemporary people. But at the same time, I also didn't see any people wearing their traditional outfits. So they were totally modernized. Like if you see people walking every day, they're totally European, they're totally minimalist kind of thing. And at least with us Malaysians, we still see people wearing cultural things every day, like a baju kurung or a batik. So I feel like there was that kind of, but at the same time, how they preserve that culture was really inspiring. And how that organization was,
So while they had a country that had rich in culture and background, the people themselves did not represent that heritage. That was the observation that you saw in Turkey, which is very interesting for an old country like Turkey to have that. So we could be that too in the future if we're not careful about balancing our culture, both who we are as well as the country. Adelina, any words from you in terms of like? Oh, there you go, grabbing the mic. Just maybe a quick one before we segue into part two. Yes.
Definitely, but I think cultural heritage will stay and will improve and will be better. And because when you frame heritage after a long time, it becomes luxury. Then you see those that you cannot access and you want to access, you got to pay for it. So you got artisan who have got really excellent knowledge and background that you need to talk more and get the contents out of it. Do more storytelling, do more good narratives about it, but with care. And with care means time, and then you need to understand the lineage of the works and so forth. So I think it's definitely going to have a higher value. And I think if we all collaborate all together and have one voice of what Malaysian cultural heritage represents, because we are so diverse, from Malay to Babanyonya to Sarawak, Pakumbu, and various in Sabah. And I think we've got a real good melting pot of culture that could be used to bring to the next level.
I love that, and thank you for making this transition into talking about how it is so important for us to then collaborate with people responsibly to ensure that our stories remain intact. And this is going to be part 2 of our conversation now, where it's about being responsible and the kinds of partnerships that we should have to create better collaborations. Adelina, back to you again. Some of the principles of responsible collaborations. Tell me, in your perspective, key principles that make a heritage collaboration responsible and lasting.
Let me just to
So
be
well
sure that I
prepared
can
today.
get out of it, you know. Because I think it is important to, it's about respect, and I think this is extremely important. I think seeing our country's songket in Paris and being where it should be, I feel proud and this is the quality of my country's artisanal work. The woodcraft or the design of jewelry. And I think knowing the roots, the origins, provenance of it, I think it's so extremely important. So that's one of the principles. And then you were talking about value, the value creation and what you get in return. So it's respecting the giving and getting. And I think we shouldn't take the industry, the artisan for granted, because this is priceless. And I think from the commercial standpoint, you will get what you want, but did you actually deliver the real content of the cultural heritage? And I think, exactly, and I think it's important to realize from the artistic standpoint, and that's where I said the roots, the value of the roots and the respect for what we have to treasure and really respect it and make it sacred. So that's what I think personally.
I love that. And for you, what are the challenges that you face when you're trying to craft these stories with the brands?
Yeah, there maybe one or two I could just mention. Like for instance, in hotels, for instance, right? It's not just about making money. You just have got to make sure that you give place it where it should be. For instance, if you're doing a promotion, an opera or something to sell a banquet, make sure we have enough research done, background and everything. Sometimes the hotel just want to, let's stage the promotion and that's it. From the PR standpoint, no, we have to go back and do more homework about it. So that's one of those, that educating and making sure both parties work together hand in hand to deliver a good promotion. So regardless where we're working with which hotel brand. And for instance, also when we did sometimes exhibition, and you have got all these little giveaways that's been given. And sometimes it really breaks my heart when you see an example, for example, Songket pack, for instance, and it's all, the threads went off and we're giving away like that. No, it shouldn't be. And I think we got to be very careful if you want to give something of cultural elements or even a slight part of it to the people. We got to really understand and protect it first before giving it out. So might as well you just give a normal item than giving Songket
Just like that.
just like that, which it hurts to see.
Place value in it.
Yeah.
Place
There's
value, respect it,
Yes, definitely.
package it in a respectful manner
Correct.
so that when the person receives it,
it's meaningful, and
It's
there's a
meaningful.
purpose of giving Malaysia to someone.
that's really good tip. Package it with respect and value it. Thank you so much. Shavika's smiling. Can you add to that? What are some of the challenges for you? What are the key principles for you when you want to bring forward your heritage across?
So for us, the first question that we always ask ourselves, or at least I ask myself before I ask it to the rest of my team, is to always remember that we are hosting, we are not extracting. So when you're extracting something, you are taking it, you are repackaging it for your own standards, and then you're selling it for people. So you're using other people's resources, which goes back to what I was saying about how we shouldn't be treating heritage like a raw material. But if we are hosting, then we turn into a platform. So that's one of the things that we've been trying to push, at least ever since I joined Zeus, is that we want to turn ourselves into a platform for artists, whether it's people who are doing art, people who are singing, or whoever it is that we are collaborating with. We always want to position ourselves as a platform where it's not, okay, we want you to work together with us, but this is how you should polish yourself to appear next to us. So we don't do that. We just open up the space and say, hey, we would like to collaborate with you. This is the stuff that we have. This is like maybe the point of sales materials. This is what the campaign is about, and this is what we need your artwork on. Like, go crazy. It's up to you. Because we want to position ourselves as a platform rather than, oh, okay, we want you to work on our stuff so that we in the office, we can just, okay, we don't need to worry about the visuals, which is not that, because we are also very hands-on in the process. So we like to learn more about the artist in the process. How can we make things easier for the artist as well? And wherever possible, we don't try to polish them. We don't tell them, okay, this is what you should be doing or you should not be doing if you're working with us. And I think it also goes back to respect, right? Like, is it really your story to tell? Because I think it's very easy to think about it this way. If you have to engage with an external party to help you with a certain design or a certain campaign, chances are you already don't know enough about it. So that's why you're engaging with someone external. Which goes back to how they want you to do a Malaysian thing, and then you're like, okay, Malaysian is this, and they're like, I don't think so, you know? So it's like I already mentioned just now, it's being able to put down your ego and be like, okay, I'm not the expert in this subject matter. However, I would like to learn more, and I think it is something that is very, very important for us to carry forward. So allow these artisans to do what they do best, because you're already engaging with them for a reason. They're not hired or like engaged with just so that they can do your work. You should look at them as extended arms that bring value, knowledge, insight, and information into the campaign that you're planning on launching.
Thank you very much. And so it sounds to me that you have an internal process that sort of like allows the artisan to express themselves quite freely. But then it's interesting as well because Haris also mentioned that he's not a researcher. So he's like, they're not they may be subject matter experts, they may not have like all the information. So is it squarely on them to give the accurate information, do you think?
No, it's not squarely on them. So that's why I also mentioned that we are very hands-on in the process as well. So we tend to be a very paranoid bunch. We're always like, oh, are we representing this in the right way? Are we doing it justice? Are we being respectful? So it's a two-way communication. We would usually talk to the artist and we'll be like, okay, this is what we're planning on doing. Is this something that you know about, or is the way that we are thinking, like our thoughts, are they right? Are there any misinterpretations or misinformation? So once we have that discussion and that kind of, so we always continue to get to know the people that we work with. So during that conversation, if let's say the artist is like, actually this isn't something that I'm an expert about, then it's either we would ask them, oh, okay, so do you know someone who might be able to help you with this information? Or we would take it upon ourselves to be able to find the information so that we can assist the artist. But usually when we get in touch with an artist, it is already with, we want to work with you and your art, how you work with your art. So it's literally just how you are, come onto our platform. So we don't necessarily need them to like change or learn more or things like that. We usually already engage with someone who we believe, okay, this person knows they can provide what we are looking for. So then they don't have to do much changes when they come onto Zeus as a platform to showcase their work. But let's say if we ever get into we need to cross that bridge where artists are not necessarily the subject matter expert, then it's okay, because we are not asking you to work in a silo. We are not bringing you into this engagement as someone who's just, okay, we need you to do A, you do A right now. Because we are coming in because we want to get to know you, we want to get to know your craft, we want to get to know the process. And if there is something that both of us don't know, then it's okay, we can embark on this learning and knowledge sharing together.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And then Haris, we'll talk about maintaining respect and meanings in collaboration. When working with brands involving cultural elements, how do you ensure the collaboration remains respectful and meaningful for you? Because we are talking about respect, right?
True.
Yeah.
I'm also learning, I'm not an expert of all the cultures in Malaysia. So I also did my own due diligence of my own research. But I've made mistakes, I'm not gonna lie. There was one incident, I'm gonna tell you, where I was collaborating with a local fashion designer, which is also collaborating with Aboriginal community. So everything went so fast because of the deadlines and all. So he asked me to kind of use the culture as inspiration and collab with him in that line of fashion design line. And I said I asked him, have you contacted the community and do you have approval or from the community? And he said yes, he knows the leader of the community. And I took it. So okay, it's fine, And I asked him multiple times, is it okay for me to use certain motifs in this way, kind of thing. Also, this is my mistake where I didn't communicate to the community myself, but also because he kind of represents that, and he said he has already done the connection with the community. So when it all came out, and then during the fashion show, there was a time where they kind of used some of their ritualistic masks for the show.
Right.
and I also felt like, oh, what's going on here? So we and it aired out, and we had a lot of backlash. Yeah, a lot of backlash, and I also was associated, right? So I apologized, but yeah, some because of legal reasons we did. So things like that. So I feel like on my part, I felt like I should have like did my own research and asked more. So I've made mistakes before. So because of that, I always do a lot of research. So with my recent collab with Chaji, they wanted me to do cultural representations of each state, and that was very daunting for me. Like I don't wanna, miss that thing. And then I did a lot of research, and of course, like places like Sabah and Sarawak, which I'm not very well versed on, I didn't wanna misinterpret, right? So when I asked them, and they asked me back, just make sure like this is correct. So I'm like, is it my job? Kind of things, things like that. And then they were more concerned about things like, make sure the batik is Malaysian. And I'm like, of course I would make the batik Malaysian, because so from their point of view, they're regional. So they are Southeast Asia. So they are also concerned about other countries that might be sensitive to it. Our neighboring countries. So I'm also thinking about that. When I'm doing things for a brand, they're also regional. So I'm thinking about, is this sensitive to the other country as well? So I'm like, there are a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, it sounds as if you have taken on the responsibility
Yes.
of being the ambassador, and at some point all of us have to be responsible for our own heritage and how it is communicated outside. Thank you so much for all of your insights. We have actually run out of time, and which is great. I didn't know. So yes, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. And just a quick one before we get into one-liner, okay, timer. Just one quick one for each. Visit 2025, 2026. What is going to be, what would you love to see as meaningful collaborations for each of your professions? A meaningful project. What do you like to see in 2026? Your wish list. Who can go first? I know it's a difficult one. Is it? Do you have a?
No, I have one.
Okay,
I
great.
have one. This has been on my bucket. This has been on my bucket list for a long time. But honestly, for 2026, I want collaboration with you.
Whoa!
It's been on my bucket list for a long time.
Oh my god, okay, well that's a great one, yeah.
So nanti bagi number.
Adlina, do you have anything? Like, what would you like to see?
I would like to see more collaboration with corporates for the industry, and I think because heritage culture is just not about textile or there's beyond that, there's food, there's more things, more items. So collaboration, and then go on a multi-layered conversation through culture, design, technology to come in. So I think I would like to see more of that.
More like 360, multi-layered discussions on
Yeah.
culture, go deeper.
Yeah. that's
Haris, one last one for you, a wish list for you. What do you want to work with
I
Susanna?
think like, wait, of course, yes, let's do it.
You said no.
No.
I'm getting more into fashion, so I would love to see more collaboration with like contemporary fashion, with traditional textiles. Yeah.
Poya is in the house. One of the brands are here. So, that's something that you can take on. So thank you so much for that. Panelists, a round of applause for that. I am now opening the floor for some questions and answers and questions. And people have been asked to write their questions in. And do you have any for me to read out? Wow, there's, okay, that's number one, the popular one. We have 11 questions, so I don't know if I have enough time for all of them, but I'll go for the most popular one. Would heritage and storytelling also include film, movies, not just documentaries and events? If so, would you be interested in collaborating in a film project? This is directed to anybody, I wonder, but can anyone take this one?
Yeah, I think like our recent trip to Turkey, I talked to Nini, I said like this whole trip could have been a documentary, you know, like of all the 10 fellowship artisans coming together and talking with each other, collaborating and sharing notes would have been an interesting story for everyone to see in film or documentary. Yeah.
I will share some more on for Turkey Textiles Fellowship. For all of you, the reference to Turkey is that Hasanah had a Textiles Fellowship to Turkey for 3 weeks, and Haris was one of the fellows that went and was very insightful. Okay, so number 2. Wait. Oh. Can Shafika from Zeus share her conversational skills and communication techniques? I appreciate how thoughtfully she navigates this discussion. That's a very big one. So I don't know, Miss or Miss Anonymous, could you approach Shafika after this so that you can get a one-on-one conversation with her? Because I think that she's confidence is one of them. Okay, next one, Anonymous. How does Malaysian also include other races' cultural representation? Would you like to take that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel when I do my research, I also consider all the cultures. So when I do, because I like to do kind of this a muse and a fuse of different cultures. So when I consider Chinese, Indian also, and I feel like some cultures are underrepresented, I feel. And I feel like when we talk about Malaysian, we straight away go to Tenon, we straight away do it. But I feel like we have so much more. There's so many more stories to tell. So yeah, of course, we can include them. We are all Malaysians.
Okay, I love that. How do we carefully ensure we do not fall into cultural appropriation, but instead appreciation when being in a traditional craft industry? Oh, what does it mean? Okay, there's 2 questions here. How do we carefully ensure we do not fall into cultural appropriation? But instead we appreciate the traditional craft itself. So instead, okay, like for an example, cultural appropriation is when somebody is like, just taking, using it, right?
Yeah.
And instead, how can we ensure that the craft is being respected? I feel like, I hope that is the way the kind of question is being worded. Would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. I think how we can ensure we don't fall into cultural appropriation is first and foremost to have knowledge and understanding of what it is that you are doing or using. So I think we see this a lot online, where there are a lot of people who are culturally appropriating other people's cultures, their heritage. I think the one that, at least on my algorithm, the one that I usually see a lot is how people are culturally appropriating yoga and Buddhism for New Age spirituality, for example. So that's also something that I see a lot on my algorithm. So I think first and foremost is understanding what it is that you are doing, or what it is that you are creating, or what it is that you are wearing, and to not get defensive if someone tells you you're doing it the wrong way. Because a lot of these people, what I have observed online is that they will say, oh, I'm not culturally appropriating because I know I'm wearing it for this particular reasons. And then someone comes in and someone is like, oh, but actually perhaps the kind of motif or dress that you're wearing is something that is used usually for a certain type of ceremony or a certain type of ritual, or this is what it actually means. And then this person would fight back and they'll be like, oh no, I'm doing it out. Sometimes it like niat tu dah betul, but if how you are carrying it out is wrong, then it's just wrong, because you are not the torchbearer of that particular culture. If someone from that particular culture tells you you should not be doing this, then like listen to it. So I think people tend to fall into cultural appropriation when it's either blissful ignorance, where they just choose not to, for aesthetic purposes, this looks good, I'm just going to put it on my head, I'm going to put it on my body. And then when someone tells you it's wrong, you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to. So it's one thing to appreciate, and I think it also helps a lot to be able to, if you're going to dress culturally, to be amongst the people of that culture also, especially if you're in a gathering, you're invited into a family gathering, and it's a culture that you don't necessarily celebrate, that you're not a part of. Then at least you have people there who can be like, oh, okay, let me teach you what's the right way to dress, what's the right way, what's the right etiquette and stuff like that. I think cultural appropriation is when you take a culture that is not yours, and then as an individual, you try to carry it forward without the voices of the people from the culture. So you're kind of like, you're not buat kerja tu sendiri, but you don't even understand the culture that you are trying to carry forward.
Yeah, and it goes back down to respect,
Yes.
and also due diligence, also making sure that the provenance and the story is carried forward
Yes.
responsibly. Thank you very much for that. Okay, this one with a one tick, somebody like this one. Anyway, is there any third party or channel we can reach out to if the partners are not educated, and how to create that awareness if we're not equipped to communicate that? I'm just going to answer the first one first. Is there any third party or channel we can reach out to for partners who are not educated in tradition? I can't answer it. I'm moderating. Anybody?
We have so many insights.
Okay, I say yeah. I know. Yeah, please do. Is there a place, a reference place that you like to reach out to look for questions? Panel? Anybody? Oh, just. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
A moment of blurriness. To answer your question, Anonymous, there's no third party channel for now. And should there be a third party channel?
Yes, please.
Okay, Aditi, remember that research project I asked for? Yeah. I think that's interesting. Okay. Next question. Last question, or how many minutes have we got? Several minutes? Okay. Great. Can you expand more on the responsible collaboration? Like the importance of having business ethics, and how do we implement it in a practical, daily life reality sense? These questions are tough, by the way. It's making my panels are thinking. You try, thank you.
Coming back to an example where we had the successful collaboration in Paris for the Clancan exhibition. And I think that excellent collaboration with corporates in the state of Kelantan, who really put together their efforts to be together to promote their state, and at the same time support from the Cultural Ministry and Tourism Malaysia. It's not just about tourism, it's about culture. And I think that's very, very important. And then when it comes to heritage, if we can make heritage, cultural heritage, like in France, at the Vive, art of living, it live, breathe with you every day. I think you can never go wrong, because this is an everyday thing. And I think for partners or supporters, more and more they will see this coming in, and as we educate the industry more, the market more, I think the buy-in is going to be easier in the long run.
What you touched on is very important at the start when you said that you engage with all the right stakeholders.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good SOP as well, when you want to start a collaborative project, to ensure the right parties are involved.
Correct. And remember how important curators are, And I think you cannot just be independent working on your own. You have to get people with authority of the subject to speak and advise or counsel you. You get opinions from out there, because then you just don't have to go on your own trying to do things. Sometimes even ChatGPT is not right. you
No,
know.
exactly.
You have to make sure that you endorse and get clarification from people with authority. That's for sure.
And that means a lot more collaborative efforts in that respect when it comes to making partnerships and stuff. So you engage with the right amount of people. You are not alone, and you should not be alone, especially when you're carrying heritage. How do you incorporate a multidisciplinary approach to culture and heritage beyond typical impressions like batik, including visuals, performing arts, and literature arts? Okay, so it's beyond batik making. How do you make it more multidisciplinary? Like, what are some ideas that you can think that you can actually tell the story of heritage across many platforms?
Yeah, I think knowing the essence of that culture, so it's the story. So that story can be translated into a lot of different forms. It could be performance, it could be visual, it could be anything. So maybe motives and also storytelling
Yeah.
it's how it can be multidisciplinary.
Start with the story and use the story to use it across many platforms. There was one question that had a like earlier before and I forgot. Oh, there it's gone. How do you ensure the partners give proper remuneration? Thank you to the artisans. Yes. How do you ensure it's
So the most important thing that you need in your team is someone who has worked in the arts before. So because these are the people who will bring in the reality check for everyone, that this is the amount of time that is needed to do this particular project. This is how much effort, this is how much the equipment, the materials are needed. Because if the team is just made out of a bunch of businessmen, their head is thinking efficiency, commercial, fast, and when can we get it and things like that. You need someone who has dabbled within the arts industry to be able to say, like, even if it's something that is done digitally, for example, even if it's 3D, 3D takes 16 hours to render. You cannot ask for something in the day and then get it at night. So you need someone there that can gatekeep and also bring that reality check to the team, which is why it is very, very important to make sure that the team that you're working with is not an echo chamber. So lucky for my team, I'm there. So I used to be a portrait artist. I wrote a lot and stuff like that before I started focusing on corporate work. So I'm always the gatekeeper between the brand and the artists. And one of the things that I tend to say is that, okay, if you have a budget, you let me know. And then I will go to the artist and I'll say, okay, this is the budget that we have. What can we get with this budget?
That's great.
Yes.
That's important to
Yes.
actually have a consensus
Yes.
before we start a project. That's important.
Rather than saying, this is what we want you to do, but this is how much we want to pay you.
Yeah.
So that there always needs to be that conversation. And as the gatekeeper, I also say a lot to the people I'm working with that kalau tak ada duit, buat macam tak ada duit. I mean, like, you want the artist to do so much, but I'm the gatekeeper. As someone who's worked in the arts, I know how much effort and time is going to be needed for this. If you cannot have things fast, pretty, and cheap. Yes, it's either two and then lagi satu tu you tak boleh dapat. So if you want it fast and good, you're not gonna get it cheap. But if you want it cheap and fast, it's not gonna be good, you know? So I always let them know this. So now they've started practicing, trying to plan things way, way ahead. In case I come in and I'm like, they don't have time, kau tak ada duit, buat tak ada duit je, you know? So you need a gatekeeper, someone who put their foot down to protect
Somebody
these
who knows
artists.
both worlds as well.
Yes, yes.
There was one question that I had a like. I want to get to. Okay, Albert Lee, Scale Modelers, Malaysia. Oh, okay, wow, Albert. How does the panel get people interested in aspects of Malaysian culture and craftsmanship they may not have seen before? How? Albert, thank you very much for that question. Who wants to take this? How do you get them engaged? Anyone? You could, yeah, look at me. They're like, how does a panel get people interested in aspects of Malaysian culture?
I think with social media and what you've done with brands,
Okay.
what we've done with brands, that is how we get to the regular people.
The visibility.
Visibility. Yeah, and I think like what Yayasan has done is great. Like last year they did Teleport, and now even I didn't know about Teleport, and now I know Teleport. So things like that. Yeah. Oh, wow, okay.
Perfect, thank you so much. LN says, can AI exist within our efforts in sharing our culture and craft to the world?
Yes.
Great, thanks.
Yes, I'm very passionate about
AI.
topics that has to do with AI.
Okay.
So yes, I do believe so. So AI is, yes, they take from the wellspring of human knowledge that exists out there and then they give you what you want to hear. But AI is not, especially generative AI, so like ChatGPT and all these things, they're not novel. They don't give you novel ideas. This is something that is uniquely human. So if you want to talk about, within our efforts in sharing our culture, so AI can only tell you what they pluck out from other sources that exists online. But still, when you're trying to share your culture, you're trying to share heritage, you're trying to upkeep and carry it forward and things like that, those are things that only humans can do. Because let's say, so ChatGPT can tell you nasi lemak tastes a certain way, but you can only understand truly what it tastes like if you were actually eating it. So for me, AI is just, it feels like just an agent, you know? Don't count on it for anything creative, for anything that makes us so deeply human, the spirituality, the community, the connection that we all have with each other. That is something that AI cannot replace. So sharing our culture still has to be something that is done by humans. And even historically, if you look at it, that's how cultures are being preserved. Sebab dia turun-menurun. So AI can't do that. Maybe AI can tell you a story about it. Maybe they can pluck out something from a journal or whatever and say this is what people are talking about it. But it is not the same as actually practicing the culture itself. So AI will not and can never replace that effort.
But it can exist within.
It can still exist within it, yeah.
Yes.
But just don't
rely so much on it.
Yes, yeah.
Don't be lazy. You have to like start talking to people.
Exactly.
Like
You have to go out and touch grass.
This one I wanted to ask. You mentioned natural heritage. Please share more about that, please. Who said natural heritage? Nobody did. Did I mention it? I did. I did, TV? Natural heritage. Did I? That might be a mistake. So I'm very, very sorry about that. But natural heritage could mean actually the forest. But never mind. That was wrong. My apologies. What are the differences in marketing cultural craft towards local and international markets? Adelina Borhan, this is for you. What are the differences between marketing local and international cultures?
It's more of the content of, like I said, the root, the origin, the storytelling behind it. And when you get it out, your documents are all fact-checked. And for local, it's easier to communicate through all the channels of communications that you have. But when you go international, sometimes because they don't know your culture, there's a lot more homework to be done. And therefore, for instance, recently when we got Le Figaro to come to...
La Figaro, I love how you say it. Say it.
Le Figaro. Le Figaro came to Malaysia. Nini was one of those being interviewed. We went through Kelantan, Terengganu, and Johor. So there was a lot of homework before to make sure that this communication, when it's out, it has got number of millions of readers per week in France. And so we've got this chance to make sure everything, again, to make sure it's correct. and because there's no turning back for the country once it's out in one of the prestigious weekly magazines. So I think, yes, there's a lot of the historical, the history, the roots of any detail, be it food, textile, clothes, fashion, designers, everything has got to have a strong base.
Yes, and while international seeks root to understand the background, I think local, inspired by your answer, it means what does it mean to me, right? Local always wants what that motive means to me. So that would be how does that make, what does it represent for me? That's kind of like the difference I feel. Root for international and what it means for me, for the local.
And I think coming to what Haris mentioned just now when you were doing something for the international brand, it's really coming to the same thing. What Zeus is doing is for Malaysia, and when you're touching the international, the communication has got to be understood by them, what you're trying to interpret for Malaysia, and they got it via your second time around. So I think that's very important, that connection.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I have 3 more minutes left, and both these last questions are from Raza. So we're going to read both of them. When do we cross from preservation of our heritage to colonizing it for foreign narratives or commercialization? And his next follow-up question was, shouldn't we establish a strong foundation first before selling out? So I think it's the same theme. How do we then, what is the line that we cross from preservation from preserving our heritage to colonizing it for foreigner narratives?
For my own personal opinion for this is that it always comes back down to, you need to ask yourself this question, why do I want to appeal to foreign narratives? So I think that's something that a lot of people don't get. So in their perspective, they're like, okay, I need to appeal to foreigners because I want a bigger market share. I want more people to buy my stuff because we want to make a profit. But then, where you are trying to appeal to foreign narratives, very easily you can dilute your culture, your heritage, or sometimes like not cultured at all. Like there's nothing there except for like pure minimalism, and it's very polished in a way that's boring, especially when you're doing it for foreign narratives. So like, macam for Zeus, what we do is that in every country that we enter, we try to position ourselves as we are, for example, kat sini, we know for a fact we are a homegrown Malaysian brand. That's something that we push really, really strong. But then when we go into a different country, for example, we want us to be part of your daily lives. So each country has their own different themes. So let's say in the Philippines, so it's going to be a Filipino Zeus. In let's say in Brunei, it's a Bruneian Zeus. So in every country that we go in, we try not to disrupt their their daily life, their culture, and we get people who are working within that country to be able to uplift the brand in ways that make sense to them.
So we're not dictating our culture onto them.
Yeah,
Right.
so we don't agree with colonizing culture to feed into foreign narratives, because we've always believed, and most of the countries that we've gone into are like countries that have been colonized, you know. So to be able to go in and be like, okay, you've been colonized before, and then now we're going in and we're going to continue to uplift colonizer punya, you know, mentality. It's not something that we want to do. It's not our values. So we are if we are going to be so kita buatan Malaysia over here, then we should be doing the same in all these other countries, because all these countries have their own culture, their own heritage that they probably want to uplift as well. And bringing into these other countries that we are a platform where we are not extracting from them, that is something that we try to to instill into every one of our employees.
Thank
the
you,
employee.
thank you, and I think with that, time is up. And Raza, I'm so sorry that I couldn't get to, should we establish a strong foundation before we sell out fast, before selling out? I think that's a conversation you have to have over a cup of coffee with the panel after this, or even me. Raza, who you are, can you raise your hand? No, you want to remain anonymous. But last one, love this panel, that really